listening to Shut Up and Invest.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Shut Up and Invest.
What's up?
If you guys been rocking with us, you know, my co-host with the most, J Money in the house.
How's it going, everybody?
And we've had some good guests so far.
We definitely have, man. I mean, for just starting up, I think that people are gonna really enjoy who we got coming out.
Yeah.
Coming out for them. Some good content, some good producers, you know, some good experience and knowledge. For sure.
Definitely. And today we got a special story. We got J Money's story. So we're gonna get deep into how Jorie got started and what's he doing now and a little bit about
to spill the tea.
a little motivation, a little goals.
Definitely.
And where we're going with this. So why don't we get the party started? We'll keep it short and sweet.
Yes, it's a little late, so get into this.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night here in Miami.
This is real estate after dark right now.
Real estate after dark. That's going to be a whole separate show. What's up, brother? How'd you get in? What year did you get in? I know it was BC, before the crash.
It was before the crash. Yeah, like right before the crash. I got it in real estate. I got my license in real estate in 2006. So spring of 06 is when I got my license. I started researching and getting passionate about real estate in probably beginning of 05.
What made you go real estate? What was the initial idea?
The crazy story is this. So, right, honestly, two things. My real dad, who honestly I've seen once my whole life, but we've had periods of time where we talked a lot, you know. I moved to Miami from Penn State in July of 04, and me and him were talking a lot. And he was actually, this was the time when the market was booming. He was in D.C. doing mortgages and doing condo conversions, right? So he was like killing it. If you were doing real estate in 04, 05, you were killing it, right? So he was doing mortgages, he was doing condo conversions, and we actually were talking a lot over the phone during this time. He was just kind of telling me what he was doing and the importance of real estate and just kind of schooling me on the game. And even though we didn't have this tight relationship, I always would listen to what he said. He's a really smart guy, so I was actually soaking it up. And he got me on that path of saying, man, I can do this real estate thing. And I'm living on South Beach, me and a college roommate, you know, like a little one-bedroom apartment on South Beach as nightclub promoters, you know, again, hustling. And I just started digging into real estate. I did that. Then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that kind of just made it clear as day to me. It's like, this is what I want to do.
Everybody that I listen to, the minute they read that book,
listen, man, I know I heard a lot too, but I'm telling you, for me, that book,
a game changer.
Yeah, and I've heard people get mad about that book, say, well, it didn't teach me. I've heard some people, I've read reviews, people say, oh, it doesn't teach me anything. And
that's not true.
It's not true. But more than that, it changed my mindset, right? Yeah. So like it didn't give me the ABC how to do it, but it taught me how to think about money and investments in general more than the way I was thinking about it before.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And I think it's the first time for me that it opened up the concept of return on investment.
Definitely. So I read that. I mean, that's the first book I read that was like, man, I gotta go this way. And then I started reading everything. I read that, Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. I read the rest of Rich Dad, Poor Dad's books, his advisors' books, The Millionaire Next Door, the Gary Keller's book. Which one was that? Real Estate Investor.
The Millionaire.
Yeah. I just started reading. I read every book I can, literally. Like I was living in Miami, met my wife in Miami. We got married shortly after. And I was working in a warehouse in Michigan.
When you got married, were you already starting to do real estate or not yet?
I was starting to research it, right? So I met her in Miami. I had already been starting to read about it, you know, a little bit here. When I got married to her and we were going to expect our first baby, well, our first, we had two before. She had two already. So we had two already. Then me and her were expecting our first together. And it was like, I got to do something. I got to do something quick because I'm going to have a daughter and two other kids. And it's like, you know, I need to do something where I can take care of my family.
Because at the time you were still promoting?
I was promoting when we first met on South Beach. So I probably promoted. We met and I probably promoted for like another 3-4 months. And then we actually moved to North Carolina and then to Michigan.
Got it.
So when I moved to Michigan, I actually got a job at a Pepsi warehouse in the UP in Michigan, which is in like Canada.
Okay.
And I was working for a Pepsi warehouse like 12 hours a day, throwing bags of recycling incinerator, like getting sprayed with Pepsi, Coca-Cola syrup,
What?
like a horrible job. Horrible job. And I used to be in that job and know like every day I'd be in that job doing what I was doing, moving a forklift, stacking pallets. And I would just be telling the story in my head about my real estate career, and this is like, this is probably '05. And I'm doing this job I hate, but I'm doing it every day. And in my head, I'm just going over the books I read and just like planning out this career I'm gonna have in real estate before it even happened. Like visualizing it and telling myself it's gonna happen.
Which is, it's key. I mean, how many people are probably listening right now, hating what they currently do, thinking I'm listening to this particular show to see how I can invest and get out of this job. That's exactly what happened.
It is, exactly. I mean, I was not going to say that. I mean, I wasn't going to stay at that job forever. I've always been someone who I worked hard, but like I wasn't someone who's going to work for somebody else. That just wasn't me. But
did you know that at the time?
I think I knew that because, like I said, we said another episode. I had done so many jobs. Like I was always the guy that did like the Cutco knives and the Kirby vacuums and the door-to-door Dollar Tree stuff. So I was always looking for a job that was more of like, sales entrepreneur, independent stuff. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I also I worked. So it's like, I always had a paycheck since I was 15 years old. I worked at the grocery store first. So I didn't mind working, but I was like, at that point, it's like, I'm not going to work, for somebody else getting passed. I was the hardest worker. I got passed over for the job all the time. I started off as a temp job for Manpower. You know how that is. So I just wasn't going to stay in that predicament forever. So, my thing was, let's go to real estate, and that's what we decided to do.
You went from that job in the Pepsi warehouse to real estate?
So I went from that. So that job in Pepsi, I was actually in Marquette, Michigan, which is again the UP of Michigan, right? And I'm studying real estate. My wife's not working because she's having a baby. She's pregnant, and I wanted to start real estate there. I just wanted to start real estate wherever I was at. I didn't care. This was a very, very small town. It was just like it was gonna be tough to get into that. So true story. My wife came home one day and was like, let's move. Let's look into moving to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I was like, I don't even know where that's at. I have no idea where it was at. Again, I'm from Pittsburgh, so I had no idea where that's at. And then we went to church. So she said that. The next day we went to church, and a lady speaking at her church was from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
No way.
Just happened to be from Grand Rapids, Michigan that night, right?
God's plan.
And she's saying stuff to me about our future, and she's from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then, no lie, 2 days later, I'm reading a book about real estate. And in the back of the book, it's naming the top markets for the next 10 years. And Grand Rapids, Michigan was in that list. I'm just like, what the heck? What the heck is going on? Right. So my wife literally applied for a job. I said, listen, do it. I mean, for some reason, Grand Rapids keeps popping up. Right. So she applied for a job at a hospital because she was a traveling surgical technician. Right. So she applied for a travel job. And they called back 2 days later, said she had a job. And I think we moved there a month later. So we moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, out of the blue. The job paid for the housing when she got that job. And then so she basically worked for about a year while I stayed at home and took care of our newborn daughter. I watched her because we moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan in May, and my daughter was born in February.
Right.
So I basically watched her and studied real estate all day. So my wife was working. I watched her study real estate. So honestly, my wife has supported me the whole time, but also she's been able to she was able to work to allow me to study, she wasn't on me, but she was like, look, study. Right. You're going to do this. I can work right now. You study, you learn how to do this. And then when this baby comes, because what happened was she got pregnant again with Indy, our second daughter, and they're only 14 months apart. So literally
back to back.
Back to back. I didn't even know it could happen that fast.
I mean, you were at home. You were like, I can't wait for her to come home. You forgot to get the second TV in the room.
A few months after moving to the Grand Rapids, she got pregnant again. So again, she's gonna have to come home from work soon because she can't. She has to come home from work.
And you gotta go hustle.
I gotta go hustle, right? So at this point, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna study for my real estate license, get my license, get into real estate. And hopefully that's how we can get into this thing where I can take care of my family while she can be at home.
And I'm sure you guys, which is key, man. What you're telling me is you guys did whatever it took to set yourself up, because I'm sure if you would have gotten a job and then gotten a nanny, let's say, but instead you guys made sacrifices.
We made sacrifices for sure. I mean, she worked and was she was supportive of me just being at home watching my daughter and the other kids and reading all day, you know. And I was literally reading, ignoring. I was reading all day long. Every book I could, I was watching every show I could, just trying to absorb as much information I can.
Right.
And I'm thankful to have a wife that supported that and wasn't like,
Yeah, and I mentioned that because I sit with a lot of people that want to supposedly shut up and invest and get in the game and really start setting themselves up, but they don't want to give up the certain type of lifestyle that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what sacrifices are you willing to make to maybe take one step back to be able to take 3 steps forward?
Yeah, if as we go on with the story, you'll see we sacrificed a lot, you know, and it's been me and her as a team, you know, we've sacrificed a lot. We've also, like, when one person was lagging, you know, the other one took more of the rope and picked us up, you know. Yeah, we were living off of, I mean, Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover had a little saying, you know, I forget what he said. He said, pretty much was like, you know, live now so that you can live later on. So, like, you pretty much sacrifice for now to live the life you want to live down the road.
Got it.
You know, so we were on the whole, you know, not spending money on nothing but food and, you know, kids and, you know, no eating out. Like, we were on strict, like, let's get to this point where we can buy, you know, real estate to take care of our family and go to the next step.
Nice.
So while I'm doing all that, this is probably like 06, 05, 06. And
Was she down with the vision from the beginning, or did you have to sell her on it?
No, she was down. Like, she was down because my wife's like a dreamer too, and she was kind of like, you know what, like, you have this dream, I have this dream. Like, she was kind of like, you know what, I feel good to have someone that I'm with too, that, you know, wants to go out and do something bigger than what just the 9 to 5 every day. Right. You know, so she was, and that was the best thing. We both were like, let's go do it. You know, and being married, it can be difficult to have like this entrepreneurial dream unless your significant other is supportive of it. You know, it really is. She was supportive. I mean, the first step we took, so before I even had my license, we were able to buy a house, right? So we bought a house in Grand Rapids. This is when, like, anyone could get a mortgage. You know, my wife was able to get a mortgage for a rehab house, right? So we got a mortgage for a rehab house. It was actually a conventional mortgage, not an ARM, nothing. It was a conventional mortgage. Our plan was buy this house, fix it up, refinance, get that money back, like $20,000. When she got home from work, when the baby came, she'd be off of work for a little bit. Mm-hmm. We'd use that $20,000 to take care of us until my real estate career got going. Mm-hmm. So we had a plan. You know, we got the house we bought a house for $80,000 in the northeast of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Right, it was a farmhouse in the city. Right, it was in the city, but it was a farmhouse. Got it. Get the house. House had termites. The foundation was messed up. There was no kitchen. The upstairs was exposed with, you know, wires and stuff.
You can't even get a conventional mortgage nowadays with that.
You can't. Like, we got a conventional mortgage. Right. Like, not an ARM, not a rehab, not an FHA 203K. Like, conventional financing, right? We got it for this house. Moved in the house with 4 kids now, you know, 2 basically babies. Well, no, my wife was pregnant. So 3 kids. My wife's pregnant. We're moving this house, and me and her are going to rehab this house. Our goal is to rehab
with a pregnant hormonal wife.
Yes,
that's a good idea, bro.
Listen,
how'd that go?
Oh man! So we're gonna rehab this house, you know, refinance this house, take that money, take care of us. To go, hopefully do another rehab. Right? We had this big dream. You know, that was the goal. Okay. You know, so basically, I had one contract that helped me out. My wife's cousins and her grandfather all are electricians. So they came down, they did electrical work, did the drywall work and stuff like that. I'm in here hanging cabinets, painting cabinets by myself, you know, like, because she's like really pregnant at this point. And I never done this before. I never hung a cabinet or anything, you know, so I'm in there hanging cabinets, trying to lay tile a little bit.
Before YouTube too, right?
Yeah, there was no YouTube. I mean, I think I bought a book from Home Depot. Okay. Like, I bought one of those books from Home Depot. It was trying to read the book. There was no way to Google it or YouTube it back then.
Got it.
And we're doing this, right? We're doing this. The plan's moving along. People are like, you're crazy. You know, you guys are crazy. You know, you got little kids. Your wife's pregnant. Like, you can't even go upstairs because there's exposed wires and lath and plaster and lath everywhere. And I remember this to the T. We're getting done. We have, like, you know, 2 days before the appraiser comes out to appraise the home for a refinance. And I'm painting all night. I'm laying carpet and painting all night. Like, haven't slept. And I remember the brand new towel was for a nice, like, cream towel, and I'm like 5 a.m. painting, and I fall asleep, and a can of paint falls on the brand new towel. Like, no lie, right? My wife's at work, and I'm like, I pick up the phone. I'm in tears almost, right? I'm like, babe, you're not gonna believe this. She's like, what? I'm like, and it's brown chocolate paint. I just dropped all this brown chocolate paint on the tile. And she's like, well, not bad, nothing. It'll be okay. It'll all work out. I'm just like, babe, I've been painting all night. The appraiser's going to be here in like 3 hours. I just spilled all this paint on the tile, right? So I'm cleaning the tile off, whatever. It gets done. The appraiser comes in. You know how back then you talk to the appraiser, try to get him to do the price you want. He walks away, he leaves, and then we're waiting for like 3 or 4 days, So, I mean, it was just crazy going up to that. So we're thinking, our thought was we get like 20,000 back to live off of. Well, the appraiser comes back, and I think he came back like that we could walk with like 12 grand after the refinance, which was like, it wasn't really going to help us out, if we were in. So, but we're good with it, whatever. So my wife's at the point now where she's very, very close to having a baby, and her doctor tells her she has to get off of work. She has to go on home leave. And this happens before the refinance goes through. Before the refinance goes through, right? And I remember we get a call one day, and they're like, "We can't do the refinance because your wife." She's
going on maternity leave.
Yep. And Jackie, I'm at the gas station, and she calls me, and so I'm like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" But again, we had faith, like even when that happened, it wasn't like, "Oh crap, it's over." It was like, you know what, it's gonna get worked out. Literally, it's gonna get worked out. We prayed, we believed. Like we're stressing out, but it's gonna get worked out. Not really knowing what to do, but it's gonna get worked out.
Staying optimistic.
Yeah, like always optimistic, always, speaking what's going to happen into existence, even back then. And so about 3 or 4 days go by, and basically the guy's like, it's not going to happen. Like this is the day before, it's not going to happen. Like there's no way to do it. I'm like, there's nothing you can do. Like she's, you see she's on maternity leave. She's been working the whole time. Nope, that's not going to happen. So at this point, and when this is going on, I'm studying for my real estate license at the same time. But even, you get your license. I don't know anyone in this town. Like we're in Grand Rapids, brand new.
You don't have a pipe ready to go.
Yeah, I don't have a sphere of influence, anything. So it's not like I'm gonna get my license, sell a house the next day. But we're at that point where like it's not gonna happen. I remember I'm going to the store for something. She calls me. She's crying on the phone. I'm like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "The mortgage company called. They approved the refinance." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, mouth open. Like, are you serious? She's like, "Yeah, they approved the refinance, right?" So I'm like, cool. I mean, we got a little bit of cushion, So that came through, gave us a little bit of cushion and kind of allowed us to go to the next step.
Nice.
So.
You got your license.
Got my license, man. So.
And then now you're in the town.
Got my license.
Like a lot of people who get started, and you're even on a brand new town, so you have no network.
Yeah, no
experience.
I mean, literally no network. Never been a realtor before, My only experience is this house that we just bought that we rehab, and I just know my only goal was I wanted to sell. I got my license because I wanted to be an investor. Like I didn't want to sell homes to you to buy your personal home. I knew I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be able to get the first look at the homes that I wanted to buy for myself, and that's why I came into it. So I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and some of his other books talking about REO properties, bank-owned properties, right? Like how you don't really hear about them. And you didn't hear about them back then hardly at all because the market was doing really good. But what I did, I used to read the paper. The classified ads in the paper had all the home sales, right? So I would get the Sunday paper every Sunday and look and see what brokers had, like the handyman fixer-upper specials. And there's always like, 1 or 2 brokers that had the most of those in that area. And so, but the one guy by far had the most. And the lady who sold us the foreclosure that we bought, it was a foreclosure when we bought it to fix up, she worked for that broker. So I actually kind of like, knew one of his agents and was like, hey, I want to go work for your broker. And she was like, cool, I'll introduce you to him, whatever, make it work. So I go meet with this guy. His name's Mike Balsitas. And honestly, to this day, he's my best friend. One of my best friends. We're partners today too. But he's a broker. He had just left Remax, started his own company. And I go meet with him, fresh, just got my license. Like, hey, I want to work for you. He's like, you don't want to work for me.
He did the next sale on you.
I'm just like, what do you mean? He's like, go to Remax, go to Color, go somewhere where they'll teach you how to become a realtor. I don't have time to teach anybody. I got a brand new brokerage. I got like 3 agents. I don't have time to teach you how to be a realtor. And I'm like, Mike, you don't have to teach me anything. I learn, I read, I'll teach myself. I was like, just give me a shot. I know I want to be here. Let me work for you. He's like, he doesn't really want to take on a new agent because it's a lot of liability. He has a brand new brokerage. And he's like, I'm not trying to take on any problems. You don't want to work here, right? So literally, I left that office that day and it was like, I'm like, Jackie, he don't want me to work for him. Like, I don't want to work for anybody else. Like, this guy has all the deals that I want to, I want to be a part of. And he basically told me, go work for somebody else, right? She's like, so my wife's like, sleep on it and go back to him tomorrow. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, go back and talk to him tomorrow, right? So I go back to him the next day. I'm like, Mike, I promise you, you don't have to teach me anything, right? I learned it myself.
I'll be a fly on the wall.
I was like, I just want to be here. Like, you have the deals I want to be a part of. I know I want to be part of REOs. You have the most of anyone in this city. I know I'm new, but I learn. I teach myself easily. I'm like a self learner. I don't need anything from him. I don't need training. He's just like I can tell him. He's like bugging him, right? He's like, all right, man. Basically, all right. Come on.
Yeah, but
come
hold
back
on.
the next day.
That's money in the bank. We got to clip that. Listen, you took rejection and literally, maybe we got to give Jackie some credit. I can't wait to get her on the show.
Yeah,
she said, go back out there the next day and you will face rejection again. And you still felt like you were bugging him, but you kept going.
But I kept going. Yeah, and thankfully, Jackie was there. I've always, again, the rejection doesn't bother me. Obviously, now what we do doesn't bother us. But, I needed her to kind of be like, hey, like, this is what you do. Just go do it. Like, she told me, basically, she goes, you know what you're doing. I've watched you sit there and study for 2 years. Like, you don't need anybody to train you. Like, you've learned all this stuff already on your own. Go out there and tell him that, and you're going to work for him and go do it. And I went back the next day and was like, listen, I'm not leaving this office until he allowed me to work for Belly Bay Realty. Is basically what I did, and I became like the 4th agent they had, brand new.
Nice. And then what? How'd you start making money?
So I'm there, I got the 4 kids now because the new baby, and it's like, we got the 12 grand that's running out from the refinance, and of course, first thing you do, write down all the names of people you know. I don't know anybody, I know like 2 people from church.
Right, so that took 5 minutes.
That's not gonna happen.
That took 5 minutes.
So then I'm kind of telling them. So I got blessed, honestly. So Mike had a buyer's agent. The lady who had showed us and helped us buy our house was his buyer's agent. She got pregnant, had a baby, and couldn't work as much anymore. She was at home watching the baby. So I kind of was like, there was only 2 other agents there, me and this other guy. And I kind of was like the next man up. And he basically started giving me some leads, right? Giving me buyer leads, investor leads. And of course, because he had more foreclosures than anyone else in the area, he had a lot of investor contacts. So I remember I get this lead for a foreclosure house. It's a couple. I'm showing them the house. They want to buy the house, right? Let's write an offer today. I'm ecstatic. Like, Jackie, I'm about to sell a house. Deal? I'm thinking it's my first deal, right? I didn't check for a pre-qualification letter from a mortgage company.
You're like, let's go, Sizzler.
I didn't check for anything,
baby,
right?
We going out to eat tonight. Get the kids in the car.
I come back to my broker, Mike. He's like, they have a pre-qual? I was like, what's a pre-qual? Oh, he goes, yeah, you need to check to make sure they can't even apply for a mortgage, right? They can't get a mortgage. Like, they've been working for 3 weeks, so that deal falls apart, right? So first lesson learned, pre-qual your buyers, right? So I learned that. About a week later, he gives me another lead. He says, hey, I got a house, a listing I'm getting today in this area called the Black Hills. And this investor right here likes to buy here. Call him up. So I'm like, cool. I don't know the guy though. I call the guy up. I'm like, hey, I work for Mike. We got a house. It was on Fox Street. I remember to this day. House on Fox Street. I think the price was like $34,000. He's like, cool. He's like, cool. Give me the code. I'll go by, look at it. I'll give you a call back. I'm like, well, don't I have to show you the house? He's like, no, just give me the code. I'm an investor, give me the code. I'll look at it. I'll call you back, right? Cool. Give him the code. He goes and looks at it. Calls me back 10 minutes later. Put an offer in for 30 grand cash or close in a week. I said, no inspections. I'm like, what? Right? I'm like, wait a minute. 30 grand cash? All right, cool. Wrote the offer up. Met with him. He signed it. Put it back in. I think, it was a bank on foreclosure. So submitted to the bank. Waited like 2 days. They came back. Countered. I think the 33. We countered 31. Accepted. Right? So I'm like, cool, I got to accept the deal. It hasn't closed yet, but I haven't accepted the deal. I come home to my wife, I'm all ecstatic. She's like, making me cake or whatever. We got a deal. That deal actually ends up closing in a week.
Nice.
Simple, right? My first deal closed was like signed, a week later it closed.
Working with investors.
Working with an investor.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I would highly suggest you giving the code to an investor you've never met.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that. Just hey, go see the property. No big deal. I'll see you later. But yeah, anyway.
Don't do that. But that's how things roll back then. But don't do that.
So we got the first one in the bank.
So the first one closed in the week. I get like a check for like $1,500. Like a 31,000 commission. And I'm like, wow, this it actually happened, and it was easy, And then that investor invites me to he's like, hey, Jorie, come to this lunch I'm having next week at I think it was a Logan Steakhouse or something, right? So we're kind of going over some kind of a business I'm about to start. So I go to it, and it's a multi-level marketing meeting about a travel company business that they're doing. It's all multi-level marketing. And there's like 10 or 15 guys there and me. And then that investor introduces me to this other guy. I'm like 20. I'm 26 right now. And he introduced me to this guy who's like 23 years old. He's like, hey, you guys might want to talk to some stuff. Justin, he just helped me buy a house over here, right? So I talk to that guy, get that guy's information. We meet like a week later for lunch, and then that guy kind of tells me what he wants to find, right? So I have the one investor who I already know what he wants to find, and he hooks me to this other investor, and I find out what he wants to find. So now I got two investors who I know are buying, and I know what they're looking for. So all I started doing is scouring the MLS every day, all day, to find them deals. Literally, that's what I started doing. And I think I bring the other guy like 2 deals. The second deal, he likes it. We write an offer, close in 2 weeks. so I'm like, wow.
Hey, I'm good at this.
Yeah, I'm good at this. These investors, right? It's simple. I look at the house, no inspections, they're cash, right? I dealt with these other. So at the same time, I have this one buyer. I've been showing homes to for like 2 months, and I'm showing this person home for 2 months. Their mom has to see it. The dad has to see it. The brother tells me it's not worth this.
It's an emotional process.
I'm like, this is a lot easier. This is more numbers. I can find out the numbers myself. I know what they want to buy at. I know the numbers. I've been doing rehab stuff as far as in my head, books in my own house that I just did for a while. I'm going to find this little investor niche and focus on being a buyer's agent for investors, right? I'm going to find deals for them what they want and bring them the deal,
Right.
And pretty much that's how I became the buyer's agent. I think about 3 months into that, my broker actually said, hey, you want to be my buyer's agent, which meant that every listing he got, any buyer that called on that listing, the lead went to me. First was me and another guy. We were splitting it. Then the other guy was kind of older, had a lot of stuff going on. I was working. He was like, hey.
You're hustling.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you're hustling. You're doing this. You're going to be my primary buyer's agent. And I'm like, cool, That's like 06. So basically, 07 comes, the market crashes. We go from having like, a good amount of foreclosures to being like 100 to 150 foreclosures a month that he's listing at a time. And every lead calling these foreclosures, I'm getting first crack at. So every investor in West Michigan, is calling us, because we have the most. There's probably 2 or 3 guys that have a lot, but we had the most. My broker had the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac account.
Nice.
Which, if you know anything about foreclosures, they had the most of any. He had the HUD account. He had the Chase account. He had the Aquin account.
All the big dogs.
Yeah, he was
calling him.
He was basically getting the
properties.
listings, and I was the buyer's agent. So, basically that the connections and relationships I built, and then me taking advantage of those relationships and hustling my butt off, I walked into a beautiful situation about a year into being a realtor.
Wow. But first of all, you didn't walk. You banged on the door. They told you no. You banged on the door again.
Yeah. Then I banged on the door multiple times. I hustled my butt off. Where it was like, you know what? I know what these guys want. I'm gonna be the first guy to bring it to them. Which was a gift, man. I mean, when you're a buyer's agent, literally, I would go into the office like 7:38 and sit on my computer and just search for deals all day long in MLS. All day long. And I got used to, like, first what I would do is I found, all right, what does everything sell for in this little area? Because this is back in the day where, like, you would break it up into, like, areas. Like this area might be area 34, 41. And I would just try to I would run comps for sold properties and find out what are people buying them for in that area. So I can kind of learn, what the market values are and what investors buy for. So that was the key. I had to learn the market first so that I could actually talk to these guys and bring them good deals. Because you bring an investor a bad deal, or you have them buy a deal that's bad one time, you're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose that client. You know. So I had to make sure I was bringing these guys good deals. So I had to study about my market first, and then I had to figure out how to pull comps and figure out values. And then it just became, who could hustle harder, and I became the guy that found those deals first, to the point where a realtor would list the house and I would literally call them within a minute. They'd be like, I just listed the house a minute ago. How do you even know about it? I saw it. What's the code? I run out to the house, look at the house. And then I knew already, okay, that investor's going to buy it. I would write the offer up, without them even seeing it, because I already knew what they wanted. Submit the offer, and then if it got accepted, my investor would go out, look at it, say it's good. We tie it up.
Tying up properties before tying up properties was cool.
Yeah, on MLS. I didn't even know I was doing it. That's just what I did. I didn't even know that it was a skill that actually now is like a big time skill. Yeah, but it was just like, to me, it was like, I know there's a lot of guys out there hustling trying to get these deals. I had to, like, back then you had to get that deal first on MLS. You had to get a deal first. And then when the foreclosures flooded the market, I was selling probably like 10 to 15 homes a month, foreclosure as a realtor. I think I did like 150. I was doing like 150 a month from like 2009, 10, 11. I mean, 150 a year. Sorry about that. 2009, 10, 11.
Still crazy numbers.
No, it was crazy numbers. And I was like, the market was transitioning for realtors, whereas, the majority of realtors before that point were mostly retail realtors. Like, they tell you when you get your license in Michigan, you can't become a broker until you have 3 years of experience and 18 sales. And they say 18 sales because they say the average realtor sells 6 homes a year. Right, so 6 homes a year.
All right, for 3 years.
So at 3 years is 18, right? So I was doing like, 100 homes a year. And I remember other realtors were like, man, how can you sell those crappy foreclosures, right? Like, they're nasty, they're dirty. You get like $1,000 commission. I'm like, yeah, but I'm selling 100 of them a year. Yeah. You're selling like 10 homes a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, look at the numbers. It makes sense, Plus, I enjoy that. I enjoyed walking those homes and the negotiation with the bank, and I don't enjoy showing you and your wife a home.
Look at this
for
kitchen.
10 months. Yeah,
what about this bathroom?
That was never me.
So then, how'd you transition out of being a realtor?
I'm still a realtor. I'm still a licensed broker, but I'm 99% a wholesaler investor. I'm an investor who uses wholesaling as a technique,
right,
and other techniques. So it's kind of the market crashed, recession hit like 08, 09, and like up to 2011, it was amazing for me. Like, I made more money during that recession than I ever made in my life, Then like 2012, 11, 12, 13 hit, and people who were there, real estate just stopped. Like, during the beginning of the crash, the guys who had cash were buying all they could buy, and banks were still loaning money to the good guys, And then, like 2011, the banks started calling on the notes. So all the guys who had private financing couldn't get any loans anymore, right? So they couldn't get any loans anymore. Their cash dried up for the most part. And there was like a 2 to 3 year window where like it was hard to sell anything. So during that little break, I actually moved to Hawaii for 6 months. Again, my wife stepped in, got a job again in the hospital, right? She picked up the slack a little bit. We're at the hospital, and like at this point, I'm just stressed out because I got all these rehabs going, we got all these deals going. Because at this point, I'm selling homes for guys all across the world. I had guys from Russia buying homes in Grand Rapids, from Canada, from Vegas, from Israel, They're buying homes for rentals, they're buying homes for flips. So we got a lot of stuff going on, and then the market just kind of like stopped. Nobody could buy anything. And so my income went from like, 100 homes a year to like 2, 3 homes maybe a month. And my wife said, hey, I'm going to go back to work to help us out. I'm like, perfect, thank you. Thank you. So she's working for a few months, and then she just comes home one day. This is how Jackie is, and says, would you move to Hawaii? I'm like, sure, honey, I'll move to Hawaii. we're not going to Hawaii, right? She goes, I watched this movie Soul Surfer last night at work. I like to move to Hawaii, right? I'm like, cool, let's go to Hawaii. So, no lie. The next day, she goes, I got a job in Hawaii. We can move in a week.
You're like, I wasn't serious.
I'm like, Jackie, like, we got a house here. We got 4 kids here. I'm coaching football. I got a career here. She's like, yeah, but you're just stressed right now. I can see real estate, it's just so tight. Let's just move to Hawaii for 6 months. I'll work. Let's see how it is. I'm like, I guess. There's no telling her no. Like, we're going, right? So literally 3 weeks later, she moves to Hawaii. I moved there 5 weeks later, and I'm still going to sell real estate in Hawaii. But I couldn't because the time difference was so big where it's like I would wake up at 8 in Hawaii, and it was like 3 p.m. in Michigan, right? So we lived in Hawaii for 6 months, and it was beautiful. I mean, I actually just took 6 months of just kind of like, being with nature, kind of finding myself again, trying to regroup and stuff and figure out the next plan in real estate.
And there's like a energy and a spirit in Hawaii, huh?
Dude, Hawaii is amazing. Like I've never been to a place where like the nature, the people, you know, like when you're in Hawaii, you run up volcanoes, you kind of like you see whales jumping out the water, and it's like different. Like you don't you don't see that anywhere else, you know. Like there's a spirit there that you can feel that kind of like just like it makes you at peace, you know. So for that 6 months, man, it was the most amazing 6 months of my life. Where I was actually able just to relax from like the most stressful job I had for last year, and just kind of like think again, you know, relax, think, read, work out, you know, stuff like that. So we moved back to Grand Rapids, and I had to start all over again. And for a moment, I was like, I'm not gonna do real estate anymore. Like I had got to the point where it's like I had to find something else to do, take care of my family, and I was gonna get a sales job anywhere else I could, you know. And the sales jobs didn't work out. Like I got to a third interview, it didn't work out. And so I was like, you know what? I'm a real estate investor, real estate agent. It's what I do. Just get off your butt and go do it again. You know, like this is what you've been doing for the last 4 years. Go do it. So I got back into it. One of my clients got back into it. And at this time, this was like seller financing, land contract. That's all that was being done, you know, because the only way to really find a deal was to seller finance a deal because no one could get a loan. And there were no deals though on the MLS. Like none. And the ones that came on MLS, this is the time when like the hedge funds were buying everything. So like, let's say a deal came on MLS for 20 grand. It was a good deal. You get like 5 offers, and then the hedge fund from like Chicago, New York would pay like 20 grand more. And none of the local guys were going to do that. So the only way to sell deals, I literally had to find deals off market. So I went from like.
Why don't you break down seller financing and land contracts?
Yeah, so seller financing land contract means like, Kevin has a house. He's looking to sell for, let's say, $50,000. And I go, man, I don't have the cash to pay for that house. But how about I give you a down payment of 10%? I'll give you $5,000 down, and then you finance me the $45,000 over a certain amount of time at a certain interest rate.
Right. So it's kind of like rent, but me as the seller, I don't have to be the landlord. I'm the bank. So
Exactly.
if something breaks, not my problem. You're the owner of the house. I am just the person who you owe $45,000 to plus whatever interest or negotiation.
Exactly. It's a technique we use all the time right now. Basically, if you go to Chase Bank to get a mortgage, right, and they give a mortgage to you and you buy the house, he's just the bank, right? So I'm the homeowner. I pay the taxes, the insurance, our repairs. I give him a check every month for principal and interest that he keeps. That goes to him, right? So in tough markets, so seller finance is good all the time. But in tough markets, it becomes really, really good to know how to do that because you can't really find deals with a big spread enough to flip or wholesale, you know, all the time. So what happened was investors would pay me $2,000 to bring them a seller financing land contract buyer for their deals, right? So again, I had to find a new niche, all right? Right now, the market's changed. You know, REOs are pretty much gone because this is when the bank weren't even releasing REOs anymore because they're trying to bring the market back. So my niche became helping guys find buyers for land contracts and seller financing deals, right? So I'm doing that, and that's why I learned seller financing, which is key to what I do right now. I'm doing that for a while. The market's picking up a little bit. I'm doing some deals here and there, you know. Then about 2014, 15, you know, guys, the banks are lending again, right? So guys have money again. They need deals. Well, at this time, there's no REOs in the market because the banks pretty much dried up from the REOs. They're not releasing anymore. You know, so any good deal that comes to the market, you got 20 offers on it. Like you remember this time, 20 offers on MLS. And I'm the guy who like, the reason why I was so good as a realtor, you know, as a buyer agent, is because I was the guy that got my offer in first. And I was rewarded for being first, right? I got in first. My guys closed. I was rewarded for that. When the market changed like 2014, 15, you know, the bank deals that were out there, the banks put in these new laws were like, well, new rules where they will list the home for a good price, but they wouldn't accept an offer for 2 weeks, right? So I'm first again, but I can't get my offer accepted for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, everyone's seen a house, you know. The average small who buys one house a year has bid the house up 20 grand. The hedge fund guys bid up 25 grand, and I'm losing every single deal, right? It's frustrating. Like I'm the first one there. I'm working the hardest, but I can't get rewarded for that because it's like, well, let's just wait till they all come in.
Right. Your previous strategy wasn't.
It didn't work at all. Mm-hmm. So what happened was a wholesaler from Arizona came to Michigan, and he needed to partner with someone to help him wholesale in Michigan, right? He said, I'll do all the marketing, everything. I need you to handle the phones, do the appointments, lock the deal up. I'm like, cool, I'll do that because I need to find more deals anyway, right? So this is like 2014. I partnered with him. It wasn't even a part. I worked for him. And
How did he come across you?
he met, so one of my investors who I was doing a lot of deals with, he met him first. And that investor said, hey, you should talk to Jorie because he's the one that finds all our deals anyway. He'll be perfect for this job. So he talked to me. We talked. He told me what he wanted to have done. I said, this is perfect because this is what I'm trying to do right now anyway because I can't get anything on MLS. So if you're marketing over there, wherever you're doing, you already know how to market, how to have the systems in place.
So one of your clients that you did right by created the opportunity.
Yeah, he put me in with someone who actually helped, give me the insight and a lot of the information of what I'm doing right now, So that happened, and I'm helping this guy out with his wholesaling business, and then I'm, finding deals, locking deals up, lots of deals up. And I'm like, basically I was already doing this, like, off the MLS. Because I had a lot of investors say, hey, Jorie, you find me a deal, I'll pay you $5,000 for the deal. Because they knew that I had about a list of 20 investors who wanted deals from me. So they would come to me and say, hey, if you find me a deal, I get it first, I'll pay you $5,000 a deal. Mm-hmm. Right? So I was wholesaling off the MLS without even actually knowing that I was doing it.
It's crazy because I deal with so many agents, obviously having the traditional mortgage side of the business and also the private lending and the investing side. And there's so many traditional agents that sometimes have a tough time wrapping their head on the investment side.
Crazy time, yeah.
And what they don't understand is exactly what you just said. Like, investors that make money on deals are willing to do whatever
to get a deal.
And it's just business 101. Mm-hmm. It's like capitalism at its finest. Like, listen, I will pay you whatever.
Just bring
me a deal because if I can make $50,000 on this deal or $30,000 on this deal, I even got guys that are willing to do $20,000 on a deal. Mm-hmm. They will reward you.
They will.
For being the golden goose.
They will. They definitely will. And I remember early on as a realtor, I was like, I wanted to make sure my reputation was good. So I was not the guy there. The realtors would tie a property up and then shop it to guy. Like when I tied it up, I knew I had a buyer for it, right? So I had a lot of investors who came to me because I did right by them. First, I wasn't trying to upsell them a deal. I wasn't trying to wholesale them a deal at the beginning. I was just trying to get my commission. I did a lot of deals. It was more like, quantity I would get paid for. And then it got to the point where I had other investors saying, hey, because they were getting a deal from somebody else after they got it from me. Dude, I'll give you $5,000. just bring me the deal first, And then when I started wholesaling, so many realtors would be like, so this house is not in the market? It's not in MLS? I go, no, it's off market. Here's the price, have your buyer pay you a commission. They just couldn't get it. Like it was like sign language to them. I'm like, listen, it's still a deal. Well, why is it on MLS? Because we don't want it on the MLS, like we don't need to put on the MLS, And then they would call the board on me. I got turned into the real estate board so many times from other realtors who just couldn't grasp what we were doing. Also our seller financing deals, realtors couldn't grasp that because if it's not a traditional clear cut 3% commission,
Wells Fargo,
yeah, like they just couldn't get it, And that's, I hate to say that, but that's why 90% of realtors aren't really successful because they can't grasp their mind about being creative and solving problems. Like when you're an investor, when you wholesale, we're problem solvers, The reason I was a good realtor because I was a problem solver as a realtor. I did a lot of complex things as a realtor. But, most of the realtors aren't that complex in figuring out how to solve a situation, and that's why a lot of them fail, you know.
They're looking for their cousin who wants to buy a house, show them 7 houses, they write up a contract, they go to Wells Fargo, they get a loan, they get paid a 3% to 6% commission depending on what and that's it. Like if it's outside that box, they can't. What are you doing? This must be illegal.
Exactly.
This is a scam. And it's like
they think it's illegal to be licensed and not listen to MLS. And I'm like, you can be licensed and not even be a part of the MLS or the board. You don't have to join a board, but to the realtors who are in that they don't realize that you can do that kind of stuff. So immediately it was like, oh, Jorie's doing something illegal. No, I'm not doing illegal.
If not, you would have access to the nationwide MLS, but you don't. You got to join every single board and pay every single association, and it's not forced upon you. Mm-hmm. So how can you get a license and not be a part of the MLS? Think about it. If it's legal and it's required and it's anyway. So you started working for this dude. Now these investors are coming to you saying they'll pay you a premium if you go to them first, which is what starts to happen when you actually have Legit deals.
Legit deals, yeah. If you have real deals, again, investors will pay you for the deals, right? Investors, they're not loyal to the T as far as like, Kevin's my investor. He only works with Jorie. That's not the case.
No.
Kevin's an investor. If Jorie brings him a deal that's good, he'll buy it from Jorie. If Realtor B brings him a deal that's good, he'll buy it from Realtor B.
Yeah,
and Jorie knows that.
I got love for everybody.
Exactly, right?
Whoever brings me the money.
Yeah, so
which is cool.
It's
Free
cool.
market.
No, that's good.
Free
Like,
market.
as a guy who works with a ton of investors, hey, you found it different from somebody else. That's the game, you know. He found it first. Mm-hmm. I got to find it next time first, you know.
Exactly.
So necessity again took place where I got 5 kids, a wife. I got to feed my family. The MLS is not working out anymore. You know, like the way I used to do it, where I got rewarded for being first, doesn't work anymore. I got to find deals. You know, so I had to find off-market deals, and I got this connection with this one guy. So we're working together. You know, I'm in Michigan, and
where was he?
He was in Arizona, and I worked with him for about 6 months, and then we moved to Miami. Right, so we moved to Miami.
No, but let me ask you a question. You're closing deals with him, right? Mm-hmm. He's your connect. How are you so fearless to walk away from a revenue stream and once again start all over?
Faith. I got faith that I can do whatever I put my mind to do. But also, one thing that I do, if I'm working with somebody, like I'm absorbing every single thing they're doing, every second I can, to figure out how I can implement into my system, tweak it my way to make it better so I can use it for myself. Like, not saying that, hey, look, I'm trying to push out of business, but, you know, again, people aren't loyal. You know, everybody's not loyal. So if he moves somewhere else, or he does something else, I need to know how I'm doing this so I can keep doing it for myself.
Of course.
You know, and then the Miami thing was planned for 12, like literally, we moved the mission from Miami. My wife said when our oldest son graduates high school, we're moving to Miami. And we had a picture in my bathroom that I saw every day that says, "You deserve to live here." And it was a picture of Ocean Drive. And every day I went to the bathroom, I saw that.
Yeah,
so like, vision board. Yeah, the vision board. And my wife said it was going to happen. So again, we moved to Hawaii. She said we're moving to Hawaii. So like,
there's a common theme that when Jackie says something's going to happen.
You know? No, believe me, I wanted to move to Miami. But again, like, I had the faith, but also the wholesale things. I mean, we're killing it right now, you know, for 6 months. And I tell this guy, hey, I'm moving to Miami. But I got in control. We can still do it, you know? So I can still make it happen.
So you were going to virtual.
I was in a virtual wholesale.
Right.
Again,
from Miami, you still had your investors, you guys.
I still got my investors. He's still doing the marketing. I'm training somebody who's going to do what I was doing there to be boosting the ground. I'm going to move to Miami, kind of oversee it. We're good, right? So we move here, and it works for like the first 2 months, and then it just all gets out of whack. You know, he doesn't like the way he's doing. The guy I had working for me on the ground isn't doing the things that I was doing. So here it's out of whack. So that breaks apart. It's like, crap, now I got to figure out a way to do it myself from here up there. And there's about a 6-month window where like I'm in Miami now. The bills are double what they were in Michigan. And then that business up there kind of shut down to a halt, you know? So I had to go back to the drawing board again and just kind of reinvent myself on how to do it there. Took about 6 months. Created some new partnerships up there.
You were living off savings during that time, or?
Well, so again, we bought a house in Michigan in about 2009, right? A foreclosure we bought for $56,000. We bought it for $56,000. This house sold for like $180 the last sale before we bought it. It had mold, was down to the studs. We rehabbed it. So our total loan after rehabbing the home was about $115 we had into it. The market went up. We had that house. Our plan was to sell that house. We moved to Miami and live off of the funds from the house while I built up my business down here. So we sold that house before we moved here. Actually, we didn't. We had it closed. We had it under contract before we moved to Miami. The week before we were moving, the buyer fell out, right? So again, here comes that little, what are you going to do? Challenge. Keep going or back down, right?
You know, how many times you've had that?
Dude, my whole story. It happens all, like I could keep telling you many more, you know, but again, something happens right before we're about to make a big change in life, you know, that most people would be like, we're not going, we're not doing this. But again,
it's a sign.
Yeah, it's a sign. To me, it's a sign, but to me, the sign is different from other people. To other people, the sign says don't do something. To me, it's like, you know what? Something great is on the other side of this. If you quit now, you won't get it, right? Someone's trying to stop me from my blessing over there. So I'm not going to stop. I'm going to just take this next challenge, beat it, get to the next spot I go to, right? So that happens. The deal falls apart a week before we're moving to Miami. And, you know, we got the funds. We're wholesome. We're good. But, like, still, that was $50K we're coming down here with, you know? And I'm like, Jackie, what do you want to do? She's like, we're moving to Miami. I was like, cool. That's how I feel, too. I'm making sure, again, my wife's cool with this stuff because I'm cool with this. But, you know, I got a wife and 5 kids, making sure that she's cool with this, too. She's like, no, we're moving to Miami. You know what we do. We're going to move to Miami. You're going to go find another buyer, you know? Like, we know the house is worth this much. So we moved to Miami. Find another buyer 2 weeks later. The house closes like 2 months later when we're down here, right? So it ended up going through. But again, another, you know, red flag popped up. We had to go through that little obstacle and get back down here.
And that one sold for how much at the end of the day with the second buyer?
It sold for, I think it sold for like $240.
So you end up making a nice little chunk of change.
Yeah, $240. This is a house that we bought, fixed up, and just lived in until the market came back up. We moved to Miami. It was a good deal. Really good deal. So I sold for about $240. So
once again, shutting up and investing saves the day.
Yeah. Like, that's the blueprint for my life, dog. Like, you know, like I just take action, you know, faith, action, right? I got extreme faith. I'm a very faithful person. You know, I'm a very, very positive person. So like all these things happen. I don't really get like rattled about it. It's just like, whatever. Like me and my wife and kids have been dead broke. We've had a lot of money. We've been dead broke, right? And I've survived both times. So like, what's the worst that can happen? We can lose it all. We'll hustle, get it back. You know, like if you know how to make money, then you're not afraid of losing it.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, like I know I can make it back. You know, I can put it out there and make it back again. You know, so we get down here. I got some money from that. You know, the partnership I have in Arizona guy broke apart. So then I reached out to my broker, Mike, from the beginning of the story. I'm like, Mike, his business obviously has slowed down too because foreclosures have dried up. He's like, dude, I need the business too. Let's go. Right. So me and him partnered together, you know, started marketing, started doing this and this and that. I partnered with another guy up there, partnered with some friends in Harrisburg. So now I'm in like 4 different markets where I'm at right now, virtually wholesaling like 4 or 5 different markets right now. You know, that's what we're doing right now. So it's good. I mean, we're going good. We got the podcast started. You know, things are good. But, you know, it's been a journey of like, you know, ups and downs. Like, you know, real estate's it's ups and downs. Yeah. Like, and we'll go on more stuff. It's been ups and downs, but every time it's been down, the key has been to get back up and keep going. Yeah. You know, like don't ever quit. Get back up and keep going.
Nice. And you're now in which markets?
We're now in all of West Michigan. So Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Kalamazoo. In between that, we're in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're in Harrisburg and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're starting some stuff in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now. We're in Sarasota, Miami, Florida right now.
Nice.
And the key about virtual wholesaling to me is all those markets I named, I know them, and I have very, very trustworthy people in that market. I mean, that's my key. Some guys do it different, but to me, I'm from Pittsburgh and Harrisburg, PA. That's where I grew up at. You know, I worked in Michigan for 12 years as a realtor. I have a very good friend in Indianapolis. I live in Miami. I have another good partner in Sarasota. You know, so I just kind of look and see where do I know people at that I know can help me do this. You know, approach them, partner with them,
teach them
how to do it, and then we wholesale there.
Yeah, for sure. So anybody who's interested in virtual wholesaling,
holler at me. I got you.
Yeah, and if you got somebody who's trustworthy in different markets, we can help out. We can teach you how to do it. Again, we JV with people. We can teach you how to do it. Help set it up for you guys and get you going, man. It's not rocket science. It just takes knowledge that we weren't really taught in school, and it takes some hard work and dedication. A process and a system. Exactly. And then sticking through them challenges. Yep. Because they'll come. Oh yeah. Listen, and everybody that I partner with, I tell them up front, listen, prepare yourself. Like, this is not. It's not all good, you know. Right. Like be prepared, you know. Like my mindset now is prepared for the mishap or the bad deal. Like I'm already prepared for it. So when it happens, I don't react to it because I just know it's part of the game. You know, it's just like the losses are. And if you stack the pipe, that one deal, it doesn't. Yeah, is not gonna kill the overall momentum. Exactly. If you're doing 5-6 deals a month, you lose one. You know, it's just one of 5 or 6. A hit, but overall, you win. Yeah. All right, my brother. I think that was a good start. That was it. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty on the next episodes on what's going on in those markets and how to joint venture and how to market to get deals and how to set up the right partnerships and all that good stuff. And
seller financing, real estate notes, like
yeah,
we're gonna go
flipping,
deep,
wholesaling, private
Everything.
lending, the whole nine.
the whole nine, man. So we're excited. I
We
think
need, we need to get your wife in here because after that story, we need to follow it up real quick with her.
Jackie being here soon. We'll get her in here.
Listen, I know today was a little longer, but we needed to get that story in. And anybody who's really interested, for real, hit us up. That's what we're here for. If you like the show,
subscribe, like, comment, share. All right? Pass the word, man. Pass the word.
Definitely. You'll be able to connect with us at shutupandinvest.com. And I will see you in the next episode. We're out.
Out. Hey, thank you once again for listening to Shut Up and Invest. If you guys are motivated at the thought of continuing your real estate journey with us, then visit shutupandinvest.com. There you can join our community and take advantage of more free resources. And don't forget, please like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast so you're first to hear our new content every week. Most importantly, get active and don't forget to shut up and invest.